2011. I was 26 to 27 years old. As a little kid, I realized there's two main forms of feelings. There's suffering and pleasure. I hate suffering. I hate it so much, I wish it could just completely be eliminated. When I got older, I realized you can eliminate suffering, and you can do it through choices. You could choose choices throughout your life that can decrease your chances of suffering and increase your chances of pleasure. And I realized some things are pleasurable and some things are not. And you got to make choices to increase those chances of pleasurable feelings. I realized you can do that through doing things that are enjoyable. As I got older, I realized I had a disability. I have high-functioning autism, also known as Asperger's syndrome, and it can be a struggle sometimes. It's hard to socialize, it's hard to follow directions and pay attention and keep a job, and it's also hard to feel like it's struggle to fit in. That can make me suffer, and I realize if I improve on these areas, I'll suffer less and feel more pleasurable. I realize when I feel like I can fit in and I feel better myself, that brings pleasure. I then realized in 2002 that there's a hidden truth that a lot of people don't know about, and that is we are all part of God, and that we are kind of asleep and not realize that. We realize, in truth, we are all God, and that God is all loving, and that everything that exists actually is enjoyable, and we just think that certain things are enjoyable and certain things are not. Suffering is really an illusion. We have just made to believe that certain things that make us suffer and certain things don't. And now I'm trying to learn to enjoy everything, the truth, that everything's enjoyable. I am now trying to change my perspective to enjoy everything. However, one fundamental thing that will help you do this is letting go of pride. Sometimes when you feel pride, that can lead to suffering. When you want to be better than others, that can lead to suffering. And I realize I need to let go of doing that. However, I was afraid to let go of pride because sometimes pride can be pleasurable. And now, right now, in 2010 and now in 2011, I am friends with this one girl that I really like. I want to be in a relationship with her, and I feel like if I did, I could potentially have a really extremely pleasurable, prideful feeling, and it could be amazing. And this is making me have a hard time letting go of pride and feeling, and this is making me suffer as a result. And it's making me be afraid to see the truth. So I need to somehow let this go. And I feel like I have two options. Either continue to see this girl and have an awesome experience and maybe have her be in a relationship with me, or just let it go. My older sister moved to South Carolina. My dad made my older sister move down here because she was having temporary health problems such as hepatitis and diabetes that made her dad and stepmom think that she was drinking. My dad wanted me to help her move down. We went up to Michigan with a trailer and we made her leave her house and pick all her stuff. She was not happy. I was excited about being with my older sister again because I knew she was going to be around me more. Because I never had the chance to really see her that much because she lived in Michigan. But I also felt bad that she was not happy about leaving her apartment up in Detroit. She liked Detroit, and I knew she was going to also leave her friends. And I knew that was difficult, because it was difficult with me. And it took me a while to meet new friends. My sister hated South Carolina. She felt people were stuck in their own ways around here. I didn't think so at the time, but I started to realize more when she pointed it out. She was constantly upset about her dad and had a lot of resentment about my parents in the past. She felt my parents are not very nice people sometimes, and that they didn't treat her very well in the past. I tried to comfort her and make her feel better. I was a good listener, and that often made her feel better. I find the best way to serve people is to just simply is to listen to them and let them explain things that are bothering them, and that often makes them feel better. That made me feel happy as a result. I felt happy when I made her feel better because I felt like I was doing a good thing, and I loved her. I continued to enjoy hanging out with Jan, Kari, and Stacy. We did more enjoyable. We continued to do enjoyable things together. I introduced my sister to them, and she had fun too. We went. We continued to go to a lot of cookouts and parties. I, however, noticed that she continued to miss her friends in Detroit, and she felt South Carolina, people in South Carolina weren't really the same. I started wondering whether that girl that I liked was really being a true friend. I always didn't like the fact that I always wanted to have sex with her. I didn't like being afraid to let go of pride, being that I felt like if I did have sex with her, or the possibility that she could be my girlfriend, being that she liked me, could be an awesome experience that made it hard to let go of pride. Even though I always wanted to have sex with her and wanted to have that amazing prideful moment with her that I felt would be intensely pleasurable, and it made me curious. I tried not to let that I tried not to let that affect our friendship. I always cared for her as a friend, and I wanted the best for her. I didn't want her to do drugs, and I always tried to give her advice to help her when she was struggling. However, began to start wondering if she did really care about me as a friend. She always asked me to do favors, such as give her rides. Whenever I told her I couldn't, she would often get upset and make me feel guilty. She would often say, "I think you're lying. Why can't you help me as a friend?" was something that she often would say if I told her I couldn't. Furthermore, she often got annoyed with me a lot. She tended to get annoyed towards my disability traits, like if I had a hard time following directions. She often got rude and yelled at me. She asked me to lend her money a few times. I did, and I thought that was a bad mistake. She never paid me back. And I often and sometimes when I asked her if she could pay me back, she often got mad. She yelled at me a lot, and I would feel really offended. I never saw her yell at any of her other friends. Rarely did I ever see her get mad at other people, but she often got mad and annoyed with me, and I didn't really understand it. She often seemed to treat her other friends better than how she treated me, and this really upset me. I took it personally. I did a lot of things for her, often more things that I noticed her friends do, and I was often confused about why she often got annoyed and seemed to treat me badly sometimes. She met another guy. She met another guy around winter, and she told me she liked him. She eventually got in a relationship with him. She told me how happy she was to be in this relationship with this guy and how much in love she was. I told her I was happy about her for doing that. But when I got home that night after she told me, I got really upset. I was upset because I knew she told me she never wanted to get in a relationship with anybody. And I often felt jealous. I felt jealous. Not only that, I also felt upset that she didn't really treat me that well on top of it when we were friends. I felt like I was being used. A couple of days later, I got so upset I decided to retaliate. I found out her boyfriend, I looked at her boyfriend's Facebook, and I wrote an anonymous letter to him. I wrote to her boyfriend that she was a user and that she cheated on people. I created a separate Facebook profile so I can do that anonymously. When her boyfriend read the letter, they actually almost broke up. They actually separated for a couple of days, but then they got back together again. She soon found out that I wrote the letter. I don't know how she found out, but I think it was because her boyfriend told her about the anonymous letter, and she kind of figured it out. This permanently ended our friendship. I immediately regretted what I did. I felt awful. I felt like I was starting to turn into a jealous person like I was when I was younger. I was also upset I also was upset that I missed the chance of having this amazing moment. But I knew that wouldn't have happened anyway because she had a boyfriend now. But the biggest thing I was upset about was I let go of pride for so long. I knew that I probably would have been in more of a God-loving, accepted state if I would have let go of pride if I would have not met her. Even though I felt bad about writing that letter to her, I soon began to realize that it was good I was no longer friends with her. I felt like she took advantage of me and was using me as a friend because she didn't have a car and I did. I also realized that she wasn't nice to me either. Because she always got rude with me. It was like she always talked down to me, pushed me around, and seemed to treat other people nicer than me. I realized I had a lot of resentment towards her. I needed to let go of a lot of that resentment. The attempt of doing so was a challenge. I was upset for a long time. I often talked to Ella Cara about it. I decided to contact Ella Cara again because this was really bothering me. When I talked to Ella Cara, she really did make me feel a lot better, and I was glad that I did. I ended up I ended up succeeding on letting it go, but it was very difficult to do.